Step 3, you grow hard about what you want to be. Step 4, everybody just do your thing.
Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. Wake up, today's gonna be a good day.
Welcome to Tales from the Field. My name is Bradley Ball, and we are back and better than ever. Last week, we had our Microsoft Fabric community conference recap, and we had a detailed look at Azure SQL Database Fabric mirroring, thanks to Mr. Idris Matawala. If you have not seen that, if you are curious about database mirroring, you want to make sure and check that out. Then on Wednesday, I was back with Microsoft Fabric introducing the semantic model refresh. And on Monday, Daniel Taylor delivered Azure SQL Managed Instance, how to enable the next gen on general purpose. So much to do, so much to see. You don't want to miss a thing. If this is your first time finding your way over to Tales from the Field, give us a like and give us a subscribe. We drop content on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. On Monday and Wednesday, we have our MS Tech Bits. Today is Tuesday, so it is the Azure Data Community Roundtable, and we are here to celebrate the creators in the Azure Data community with you, the Azure Data community. Want to interact with the show? It is so easy to do so. All you have to do is click onto the stream and go over to the chat button, add your comment, and you will be a part of the show. One of my amazing co-hosts will see that, and they will join you to this. Speaking of those amazing co-hosts, I am joined by Mr. Daniel Taylor, the Mountain Man, the Man in the Hat, Mr. Josh Luedeman, Andreas Padilla, somewhat moderately shaved, but still the best beard in the business, Marco Aurelio Cardoso, and he's the triple threat that you watch out for during the NBA and the NHL playoffs, Mr. Neeraj Jhaveri. Welcome, everyone. We've got a quick call to action. If this is the first time joining us, or if you are not familiar, well, we're here to celebrate the Azure Data community. So what do we want you to do? We want you to go over and we want you to hang out and join the Azure Data community. Over at the Microsoft website, you can find local user groups. You can find different conferences and activities that we have going on. You want to make sure and go over there and connect with a local community. You may find your next job. You may find people that can help you with a problem that you need to solve. It's wonderful to have that community of users experiencing and having the same technical issues that you have. And that way you can also contribute to them and get help for yourself. It is a wonderful place to go. Many of us came from the community, and that's the place you start as your local user groups. Well, after your local user groups, we want you to head over to SQLSaturday.com. The wonderful SQLSaturday.com. We've got so many wonderful events coming up. And this is the one we've been waiting for. SQL Saturday Jacksonville is this Saturday, May the 4th. And the day before, on May the 3rd, there is a pre-con. Myself, Andreas Padilla, Neeraj Jhaveri, Daniel Taylor, Josh Luedeman, Buck Woody. We are all together doing a pre-con on an introduction to Azure AI. It's going to be, we've been working on this for weeks, folks. We've been meeting every single week, reviewing this, going over our demos, going over the content. We've got our GitHub that is going to be live and public very soon, and everyone will be able to access this. We are very excited for it, and we hope you will join us for SQL Saturday Jacksonville. Well, after going over to SQL Saturday Jacksonville and to the SQL Saturday site, where do you want to go? We want you to head over to Data Saturday and check out these wonderful events happening throughout the world. Many of them are virtual in nature, and you can attend virtually and participate in them. So many wonderful things there. One last thing that we want you to do is, of course, if you're a fabricator, if you're like me, you love Microsoft Fabric, well, we want you to come over and join our Microsoft Fabric learning community. We have close to 3,000 members on there, and you can see we have wonderful people that post on there all the time, like the wonderful Jean Joseph, talking about how Future Data Driven is back. It will be September the 25th this year. Whole bunch of wonderful presentations, content, presenters from Microsoft. The majority of us have already submitted or are submitting. And so we will be there as well, hoping to join you for Future Data Driven 2024. So you want to make sure and go sign up. It is absolutely free, and it's going to get you some world-class training. Whew. All right. All of that. What a great roundup that we've got. And it's almost time to get to the content. But first, I'm going to say, talk to me, Goose. Mr. Andreas Padilla, what do you got going on this weekend, buddy?
I think someone's going to take me to a steakhouse.
Ooh.
That's what I got going on. And then I am going to miss this, but it's worth it. You know, yeah, that guy over there is taking. He's going to take, and he's going to make up for my son going to the Formula One race on Friday here at the Hard Rock in Miami. So, but, you know, being at the steakhouse with Bradley, Josh, Dan, Neeraj, and Marco. I don't know. It's a win-win for me. That's what I got.
Jax is gonna be fun. I hate it that you're missing that. However, we can watch the race on Sunday, and I'm looking forward to that. One of my favorite things is once football season is done, there's a little bit of a depression going. What am I going to watch? Formula One season is on, baby, and I am down for some Formula One, and I love Miami. Miami is always such a great show. And our good friend Brad's going to be there, of course. Brad likes steaks. We're going to be in your backyard, so you got to be joining us, Mr. Daniel Taylor, the NHL playoffs. How's it going for the Bruins, Dan? I haven't been tracking that series.
They're not out in the first round, and it looks like they're going to take out Toronto. So I'm very happy. They're breaking. Yeah.
So you had a bet that you put in place with Mr. Bob Ward, and we haven't got to the details, but it's only if the Dallas Stars and the Bruins meet. How are the Stars faring against the Knights?
They weren't faring very well last time I checked, so I haven't bought Buck or Chris Hyde or Amy because they're all huge Stars fans, and I feel for them because it's exactly what happened to us last year, the Bruins. So yeah, but I'm hoping they make it because I want the bet to go through. Because one of the initial conversations was I would get a Stars jersey and put DBA Bulldog on the back of it, like I have on my Bruins jersey. So yeah, it's not finished yet, but
Well, we will have to see how that works out. So Tampa Bay went out last night. Josh said, was sad to see that. Yeah, I always like it when we got a hometown team in play. Now, one thing we talked a little bit about this on the pre-show, and I want to stress this. So soon I ended up watching the Bon Jovi documentary that's on Hulu. It's, I believe, 4 or 5 episodes. Really, really wonderful stuff. Andreas, you came to mind. I was going to say, I could just see you with metal hair in the 80s, just rocking it out, wailing to Living on a Prayer. Yeah, I was going to say it'd be a sight to see, but I'm sure you had that long poofy 80s hair. Oh yeah, that's right. You got to have the metal mullet, right? I don't know that it's actually a mullet, but I mean, it was that hair. What's funny is when we got to the part in the documentary where he cut his hair, I went, I'm not sure who had the hairstyle first, if it was him or Jennifer Aniston, but that was a very popular hairstyle in the 90s. But I thoroughly enjoy the doc. And speaking of something that I'm going to thoroughly enjoy, it is the roundtable. We are here for content. Dan's got a quick update. Dallas and Vegas are tied 2-2. That's going to be a heck of a series. Here's hoping they pull it out. And the first thing I'm going to go to is I'm going to go to, just the phenom that I was talking about. You know who it is. Mr. Neeraj Jhaveri, to kick things off. We've got the Fabric April 2024 update. Neeraj, what do we got here?
And thanks, Brad. I'm there.
Oh, there we go. Okay. I was worried you were on mute for a second.
No, I saw Josh and I remember that. Anyway, last week we had the Fabric updates. This is the April 2024 update. The best thing that I liked about this blog was the Fabric keynote, right? I mean, this is definitely a must-watch keynote. A lot of things by Arun, so definitely watch it out. Also, the Fabric certificate exam. So if you missed in FabCon, Brad, Mark, and Shabnam, right? 3 of you guys did certification thing. Definitely reach out to one of us and we'll help you out to get your certification but it's free right now, so it's definitely good to know. And then goes all the content.
You've got to do the AI skills challenge.
That came up. Yeah.
Create the AI skills challenge. You can do that. Now, granted, I think we're past that point. I don't know if they've extended, but I was going to say, it looks like we've also got some free live learning sessions that are happening up until May 8th. But there's a lot of great opportunities. One of the things I would tell people is keep your eyes peeled, because as we get some other conferences coming down the road, there may be additional announcements. And I know next month is going to be a big month because Build is coming.
Yep. And then all the updates for April 24 is in the list. The bigger one that I think definitely was looking forward is one tenant level private links that was being asked, and the Copilot. So that definitely is something that you should be watching out. But very nicely written doc. So all things that have been released for 2024 is up here in this list.
Absolutely. There's a ton of great content in here, and people need to go in here and digest it for themselves. And again, there's this wonderful thing that we have up at the top, the index, so that way you can focus on specifically the areas you're looking for. So that way you could, if you're looking for data science, you can look at the data science. If you're looking for real-time analytics, you can look at any of these. There's some wonderful things to be able to hear. Just go ahead and click on one of those links, and it will take you into the article where you're looking for it. So many great updates. It's something that we're constantly working to stay on top of. Marco, yeah, gotta love a good list of new stuff. I completely agree. It's always good to be able to get that list out there. Speaking of something that I thought was wonderful, I saw this blog, and again, I just love the Twitter handle. Of course, Mr. Sandeep Pawar. Dan and I got to meet Sandeep at the Microsoft Fabric Community Conference back in March. It was absolutely wonderful to be able to meet him in person. Best Twitter handle on the planet, Power BI. And he's blogging, of course, over at fabric.guru, exporting Power BI reports and sharing with granular access controls in Microsoft Fabric. One of the things that you want to look at is how are you going to use semantic leak and data access to be able to export and distribute Power BI reports and PDF extracts securely. Well, Sandeep goes through this. He walks through how we exporting the Power BI report. And you can see that we've got this nice little command in here using the semantic link to be able to do so. How we can take this and how we can distribute it, how we can do so in a secure fashion. I thought that was a very interesting and an absolutely fantastic blog to be able to show the data access control, the way that things are working in a secure fashion and how we can distribute these. I'm not going to spoil anything. I want you to go check it out. He's got step-by-step details in here for you, and you want to make sure that you go and check this out. Understand how you can do this as well and use the semantic leak to share those reports out in a secure fashion. And I loved it. I was amazed by it. And then I saw this, and once again, I was immediately intrigued. This person keeps coming up with great new articles, and this blogger always has fantastic stuff. You know what I'm talking about. The Mountain Man, Mr. Daniel Taylor, Automatic Table Maintenance in Microsoft Fabric Warehouse, Checkpointing and Statistics, Part 2 by Kohn Verbeck.
So there was a method to my madness a couple of weeks ago when I was tongue-tied. I shared, this is the first article I stumbled across from Kuhn when I was looking through things, but I needed to go back to part 1, and I shared part 1 a couple of weeks ago. Well, he here continues about how table maintenance is done in Microsoft Fabric Warehouse. And we like to know some of the internals sometimes, right? We like to geek out on things. The first part of the article goes through how the Microsoft Fabric Warehouse goes through checkpointing, the max number of files that you'll get into. Read the article to find out what that max number of files that it will read from the checkpoint transaction logs there, or the checkpointing logs. And also he provides some scripts to be able to look at that. Then he goes into something that is very near and dear to, I think, a lot of our hearts that are DBA, statistics. Goes through the different type of statistics that we have within the warehouse, how to query those statistics, how to look at those results and read those results, and also how we can show whether or not our statistics are stale, and then how to update those statistics, and then once again view that our statistics are no longer stale within our Fabric Warehouse. So really great article here. It was a fun read. I really enjoyed this. I'm hoping there's another in this series with respect to table maintenance and getting into the deep dive of it, because it's really great information to have. Just good knowledge to have.
Absolutely. So as a matter of fact, I almost grabbed another blog by Kuhn. Kuhn's doing a lot of really amazing stuff on MS SQL tips about Microsoft Fabric and the underlying table structures, as well as maintenance that we take care of, and then maintenance you need to take care of. There's a part 2 for the maintenance you need to take care of on Lakehouse. I'm very excited for that to come out because that's going to be some key things that we're advising customers on, and it's going to be really good to be able to use that as a reference. Speaking of something that I want to reference, of course, I always reference this man because he's hyper intelligent. He brings the pain, and by the pain, I mean the good stuff. And you know who I'm talking about, Mr. Andreas Padilla, using AI agents with Databricks Vector Search. Andreas, bring it on, buddy. What do we got?
Incredible article by Tony Siciliani. Man, this guy hit it. You hit it home, Tony. Thank you for putting this out there. I've been getting more and more questions about RAG patterns within Databricks. So the true goal here is that he talks to us about AI agents and how to create those tools with LangChain. But in the previous article, the reason I put this here is because this goes hand in hand with his previous article on how to create a Databricks vector search environment within Databricks, which is really cool. He talks about how to not only set up your serverless vector search index table, how to get that to stream in from your Delta tables continuously, which change data feeds, how to embed it appropriately, how he chunks it, then embeds it, then he creates simple search. So read that article first, get that whole layout set up with your serverless vector index table. Then from there, he graduates us to how to incorporate agents with LangChain, with the vector search within Databricks, how to create custom agents, how to be able to talk maybe to YouTube vector search, or maybe talk to AWS Lambda functions and Spark and running Spark SQL commands. It's awesome. It's a whole, end to end. Set up your search, set up your RAG, then graduate a little. Let's make some custom agents. All in
Wonderful
Databricks
stuff. I was going to say that's some really fun stuff that he's got putting together. I love those thorough type of tutorials. And speaking of thorough things that I love, wow, was that just me, or was I seeing red, or did Neeraj's background just massively change to red and then go back to normal? That wasn't just me, right?
I saw
You saw it too. Okay.
Yeah.
I was going to say, the fun times in college were coming back to visit me for a moment there. And I was waiting for things to start floating across the screen. But fortunately, I don't have to wait for things to float across the screen. I just get to see this amazing man go ahead and present on something by another amazing human being. Of course, I'm talking about Mr. Daniel Taylor. Or I'm sorry, Mr. Marco Cardoso. I got lost on my script, but Dan was of course still an amazing human being. But this is our teammate, Eduardo Noriega de Armas, and he's got this wonderful blog, Microsoft Fabric Integration with ADO repos and deployment pipelines, a Power BI case study. Let me highlight Eduardo and Marco. Tell us what we got here.
Yeah, first of all, I went for the biggest title I could find. No, I'm just kidding. I saw this blog earlier this week by Eduardo. It's actually from a few days ago, but I really like the way he puts this as a case study rather than just theory. So he actually goes through scenarios that developers would go through as they're developing with Fabric. By the way, this is the first time I'm talking about Fabric. You guys really piqued my interest into it. But yeah, I come from a developer background. So the first thing that comes to mind with these new tools is how does that fit into a developer workflow, right? How do I make sure the changes get merged correctly? How do I make sure that the development environment matches what's in production? So what Eduardo does here is he goes through these scenarios where developers are concurrently editing their resources in a Fabric workspace. And how does that fit into Azure DevOps? How do you deploy from your dev into your staging and production? How do you merge these changes all in an integrated experience within Fabric? I'm really happy about this resource. This is something I was really curious of how it would work in a Power BI and Fabric environment. And this blog really delivers. And he tops everything off with a list of good practices that he found during his study. So a lot of good stuff. I'm certain to refer to this whenever I'm setting up my development workflows with Fabric.
Very, very nice. Great work, Eduardo. And of course, great work, Marco. That brings us to, of course, another piece of great work. And when I think of great work, there's something that we've all been hearing about, and I'm super excited to see a little more delivered on this into the future. And it's from a great mind, a beautiful mind, if you will, even though it's covered by a hat. And that's Mr. Josh Luedeman. Store and query your Home Assistant data in Azure Fabric real-time analytics. I do think that they've got Azure Fabric. I made that mistake once, but it should be Microsoft Fabric. Everybody keep in mind. But Josh, I love this home and query, store and query your Home Assistant data.
Yeah.
This is that smart home functionality. You're always doing some really, really cool stuff with IoT devices and smart home. I have to imagine this is going to impact you in some way and some fun stuff you're doing. What do we got going on here, Josh?
Well, yeah. If you remember the last round table we did a couple weeks ago, I was talking about how I was just starting to look down this path of, oh, I bet you I could stream in some of my home automation data from a system I use in my house called Home Assistant. You know me with these blogs, good images and good how-tos and all that. Walks through the entire thing, configuring Home Assistant to do it, creating the KQL database, the whole path, and even digging into the data. So great article here from Care, walks through it. One of the other things in talking with him since the last time we did a roundtable a couple weeks ago, I also found out he's actually working on a new extension for Home Assistant that's getting evaluated right now and working through code review, where it'll actually be able to stream it directly into Azure Data Explorer or real-time analytics in Fabric. Right now, you kind of have to go through an event hub to get in there, or the event hub entry into Azure Data Explorer real-time analytics. He's actually working on it where it'll just take it right into real time. So yeah, a lot of good stuff there, but it's a neat demo to walk through if you use Home Assistant, and helps you get your mind wrapped around what you can do with real-time analytics using data that really makes sense to just about everybody. Energy usage, switch usage, stuff like that.
I love it. Wonderful. Speaking of, I see so much going on in the chat. Dan made sure to make sure everyone knew that RAG stood for Retrieval Augmentation Generation. And Josh made sure to differentiate that between the cloth that he uses to be able to clean stuff up in the garage.
It was a good question.
It is. It's a very good question. Neeraj actually chimed in, felt a little proud. He was able to influence the AI guy to talk about Fabric. Which is really nice. And then a quick reminder from the show account, trying to keep us on point for business. If you have any content that you think we should feature on the roundtable, tag us on Twitter or LinkedIn, or reach out to any of us. Absolutely. I would completely agree with that. Whenever we're looking at things, Josh, your Home Assistant stuff, the way that you created the little Raspberry Pi that tells your family whether they can come up and downstairs. To me, that was game changing. I love that.
Oh, yeah.
And we're always looking for game changing stuff. And of course, you know who I'm talking about. I'm talking about the game changer himself. Next up, we have Mr. Neeraj Jhaveri. Fabric changed the game, embracing Azure Cosmos DB for NoSQL. Neeraj, what do we got going on here? This is by a former teammate of us, Lillian Sileme, and Lillian is now over on the Fabric team. Wonderful to see her blogging still so prolifically.
Yep. She has a whole series of articles that she published probably in the month of April over different topics right now. This one was definitely a good one, just because one for the AI guys, Andreas and Marco. This is for you guys, Cosmos DB. For NoSQL, now you can bring that into the vector search, bring it into the Fabric part of the lakehouse in it, and do the stuff in there. Lilium goes step by step, what you need to do, how you need to set it up, and then how you can definitely see this data using the Azure AI search into Fabric Lakehouse, get the visualization after that of the whole thing. Nicely written. She has gone step by step. I mean, the best part is all of her articles that she has written down in April about every different systems. She has gone every step by step, how to plan, how to set it up, and then how to build the whole environment in that. So definitely something that would help you out to understand that part of it. Josh, something for you also, maybe when you are doing the live streaming, that would definitely help you out to understand how you can bring this data into it. So I know it's not Cosmos DB you are leveraging, KQL, but that's something that you can think about in future also.
Well,
but I like your idea.
Yeah, and we've played around with Azure SQL database mirroring. We've got a video on that. We've got a follow-up that we need to do about going into the configuration about a bunch more. But this is another wonderful one. We should absolutely put something together on Cosmos mirroring, and I love it. And Lilium has step-by-step instructions on here of how to do that. That's a wonderful end-to-end tutorial. As a matter of fact, I'm going to grab that and save that and throw that in my ideas list for the next time we're looking to execute a video. All right. Speaking of wonderful ideas, I saw this and I thought it was a wonderful idea to share it. Mr. John Miner. I've known John for a long time in the community. John is a great, great blogger. Well, I love that he was saying learn Spark SQL string functions with explanations and code examples. One of the things I've seen a lot lately, as we've seen more Fabric adoption, and I'm working with more and more customers, is that people who are comfortable with T-SQL but might not be full Spark aficionados are utilizing Spark SQL quite a bit to be able to achieve different ends with their data, with data frames within Spark. And so I found this to be very interesting. John presents a business problem. His manager had asked him to explore Spark functions that were available in Azure Databricks. And he went through and he did that. And he went, hey, I wonder how some of this could apply to Microsoft Fabric as well. And so if you look at this, all of this is also going to apply in both, but his task was Databricks. But what we can do is we can come over and we can utilize this in Fabric. So he looks at the different ASCII2 codes to be able to look at what support we have, what data type support that we have. He looks at different functional capabilities. The capability to also run a subquery in Spark SQL, I thought was very, very interesting to be able to utilize that to be able to get complex results the same way we could with T-SQL. And as you can see, he's got a lot of different things we go through: length functions, picking non-nulls, concatenating and combining strings, casting and formatting, and then also string search or characters or on position. This was a wonderful reference just to be able to show how can you play with strings and how can you utilize them within Spark. I thought this was an absolutely great reference, one that I've bookmarked for me to be able to use for future space as well. So great job, John. And a quick reminder, every single one of the links that we have are in the description of our video. So all of this content, the wonderful content from the community that's been created, is out there, is live, is available to you. It was there before we started the broadcast today. So if you're watching this, please make sure to go and check out those links and visit this content and visit the content produced by these creators. Speaking of great content by the creators, well, you know who I'm talking about. Up next, I've got the mountain man, Mr. Dan Taylor. Accelerating data transfers with Microsoft Fabric's fast copy and data pipelines. You were close to the longest title, but I think Marco still beat you out. That close, Dan. But you had me at fast copy and data pipelines. This is Rui Caballero. Tell me what is Rui talking about? What do we got here?
So Rui might have it if you do the subtitle in the title, because. But so what Rui's going through here is. Was looking for a way to quick and efficiently move data from an Azure SQL DB to our lakehouse, right? So he goes through a step-by-step here. He discovered the Microsoft Fast Copy, and he goes through how the data pipeline works, how to set it up, goes through choosing the copy data assistant, right? So we know the correct name, the copy there so we can use the copy data assistant, goes through the source, goes through how to set up the source, how to set up which tables you want to choose, how to set up your destination of the lakehouse, goes through the different scenarios you would have of where you would create a table from scratch or append to a table or add to an existing table, and then goes through the final configurations and some changes and steps and provides some key takeaways that he would like to see possibly changed in the data copy activity to make this a little bit more effective for folks that want to use it. So really great article, screenshots from beginning to end. Shows an easy way to set up a fast data copy activity.
I love it. I love it because it also shows a dive into that copy activity. It rises up the education we have, the knowledge that we have, and of course, when I think of rise up, I think of my good friend, still got the best beard in the business, even moderately shaved, and it's Mr. Andreas Padilla. The rise of small language models, efficient and customizable. Andreas, I've heard about this. This is something we've talked about a little bit before, where customers are looking at how can they use these smaller models because they are much more efficient than using some of the larger models, which could be somewhat cost prohibitive because of the high CPU charges or the compute requirements to run them. Yeah, I think this is what you're going into, right? You've
Oh,
got my
yeah.
mind constantly working. Talk to me about this, buddy.
You just you hit all those great points. This is a great article by Vijay Ghosh. Thank you so much for putting this out there. He goes into what are small language models, what's the motivation of why we need these models, how are they more more efficient in certain scenarios, how they can reduce costs, how you can customize them, what scenarios we can see, how they're trained. What else does he talk to us about? What different scenarios within finance, within medical, within marketing, within gaming, where we'll see small language models. He also talks to us about like the challenges that they have. But overall, I've been seeing not only more customers ask me about, especially in manufacturing, now they want to get to the point where they're using small language models and putting those language models on edge devices so they can do initial analysis of the data that comes from sensors, from manufacturing or factory floors. They want to they want to leverage OpenAI's capabilities or large language models with the data that comes from their shops to get better visualizations and analysis of what comes from there. At the end, what I'm seeing is that he does a great job of defining why it's here, what's to come, what are the opportunities, and just wait. More and more customers could probably be asking us for like, hey, I need a small language model. What do you recommend?
And Andres,
What?
it looked like he had in there, and you may know from reading the article, but the evaluation, right? It's relevancy in that it looked like he covered some of that in there because, and the accuracy of the model, right? Are they finding with these small language models that the relevancy and accuracy is on point with the LLMs?
They'll find it, especially more, the bigger LLMs tend to be more generalized, training models where now they need to sort of get a very precise look at domain specific models that are trained specifically for a domain, for your particular data. Now there's trade-offs here. Do I encompass a very holistic, wide breadth of data in the responses that I get, or do I really need to fine tune down to domain specific responses that I get from a model? So
Fantastic
there are
stuff.
advantages to creating a fine tuned small language model, especially when it comes to efficiency, speed, costs, and in certain cases, precision of what you get back.
Excellent stuff. Excellent. And if you want to hear Andres talk more about AI, because I know I can't get enough of this. When are we going to be? Friday in Jacksonville. You got a full day of us in a room. And speaking of Jacksonville, of course, that leads us to Bradley Shatt. Brad did the hard work. He said he just had to figure out who won the longest title award. It was, in fact, Dan. His first article on the checkpoints was a stunning 97 characters. Marco was very close. He was beat out by 4 characters. He had 93. Wow. I was going to say, thanks, Brad. It felt like I was saying a lot both times, and I just wasn't sure. Marco said he'll get you next time. It was the part 2 that put Dan ahead. I'll let you. He'll let us decide if that counts. We're gonna have to go to a judge's rule. I'm gonna arbitrate the most neutral yet opinionated man I know, Mr. Josh Luedeman. You're gonna have to decide whether part 2 for Dan's title counts or not. We're gonna save that for just a little bit later. Saving us for right now, though, we've got an incredibly interesting blog, and I'm very curious about this because you know me, I've played around with the semantic kernel quite a bit. But Marco, what do we got here using Handlebars Planner in semantic kernel?
Yep. So this one is really, really interesting. I had the privilege of talking to some folks in the semantic kernel PG, and you could see the stars in their eyes when they were talking about handlebars. So if you're not familiar with it, handlebars is a templating language that we use in C#. It's a lot more, of course, but in here, they're using it as a templating tool to create your plans. So when you ask semantic kernel to formulate a series of steps for you to solve a user's question, you can use that templating language to enhance the way it generates that plan. That really helps address the challenge that we have with function calling, where we have to go multiple times between the application and the LLMs, which typically increases the latency quite a bit. So instead of doing that, we can get a handlebars planner to generate a template and run through it. It can even do as much as write loops that will be executed locally and very fast to figure out what the user needs or do whatever they're asking to do. So this blog really brings a lot of interesting examples of how you can get started with this. This is really interesting stuff. It's one of the newest features on Semantic Kernel. I'll be sure to explore a little bit more, because this has a ton of potential to change how we use LLMs in chat applications.
I love it, and I love the potential. I see that the potential has not at all gone to Josh's head. He said, "I feel the power flowing through my veins." Neeraj suggested that he share his account details. He's about to get richer for one judgment. I feel a bidding war coming on. But before we get to that bidding war, we're going to have to go to the man in a hat himself for the final blog of the day, Mr. Josh Luedeman, patient referral document summarization using Azure OpenAI. I wonder how many characters you were off longest title, because that's a pretty good one right there.
This was not my best submission I've ever put in that category, but yeah, this is, I decided to take a week off and let someone else actually contend for the title, because frankly, usually it's not even close. At this point, though, we're going to have to take the competition, and it's going to have to go into extra innings, so to speak. Dan, I'm going to have to give some more time and thought and deliberation before I publish my decision. And I will publish it via press release, just like the Supreme Court does if they don't get a leak, that sort of thing.
Will there be a live stream for the oral arguments?
Don't tempt me. Don't tempt me. Oh, speaking of stream, Kara and I are going to do a video, because we're going to do a video to walk through what he did in his previous post, but with his setup to show some of the real advantage of it, because Kara's Home Assistant thing puts mine to shame, by the way. So
I was going to say, Dan looks like he's resorting to force because he only has tens of cents to be able to give you. I'm not sure that force works that well on a remote thing, but I mean, maybe you're going to be in a car together. Marco says he's got a bit of GPU quota that could find its way into the right pockets. That sounds like a more tempting offer. I would have thought we're all dining at the same restaurant Thursday night, Dan. Maybe there could have been a drink offer on the table or something like that. But you're squandering that opportunity, going straight to violence.
I know this may surprise some folks, but there's actually a tie, because at one point Dan had out a wire grill brush, and a wire brush just sounds like a great thing to relieve some stress and really hit a couple areas I haven't been able to scratch in the last couple of years. Yeah, exactly. See, Dan gets it. There we go.
All right. No. Well, let's move back over to the article. So what are we got here referring to? Sorry, I'm having some mouse issues. Some patient referral document summarization using Azure OpenAI. What do we got from Mansa?
Yeah, so Manasa goes through writes a nice article here on a way for the healthcare industry to utilize generative AI, right? Because when we look at generative AI for specific industries like healthcare, the legal profession, stuff like that, that's when you get into some of these, I guess the best way I can describe it right now is those situations that make me feel itchy, and need Dan's wire brush. And just because it's it can be nerve-wracking about when you use it, and using it in the proper situation, stuff like that. Where this one goes through is actually using it to summarize the patient referral documents. And this one, when I saw it, tugged at my heartstring, because I've had issues with referrals lately in my own healthcare organization that I use, and getting auto declines, whereas if they would have actually summarized the document, I was getting an insurance approval, even though the receiving office thought I was getting a decline. Anyways, right here in this article, she goes through, common data sources, how you would ingest and stage the data, and then ultimately using generative AI and machine learning for the summarization process through extraction with document intelligence, manipulation, the actual prompt engineering pieces. She talks about that, which is good because prompt engineering, as I think a lot of us know on this call or on this show, know prompting is the key to success or failure when it comes to LLMs. Goes through the whole thing, even evaluating, evaluation dashboard at the end for performance monitoring and end user consumption. The whole deal, talks through the components, great links, other use cases in other industries, which I thought was key. And yeah, it was just a great article all around.
Very nice. This just in, the Supreme Court of Brad, who rules over Tales from the Field, has removed Josh's judge from because of showing partiality. Neeraj, you're our new judge, so I'm going to let you rule on who has the longest title.
Be smart, Neeraj. Get something for it.
I was gonna say, so Neeraj, we'll need a decision probably by this Friday, if not before, but I'll leave it to your capable hands. Real quick, there's a couple things that we want to make sure as we are wrapping up that we cover for you. So first off, keep in mind that the Future Data Driven Conference is taking a call for speakers. If you're a speaker, if you're out there, you're looking to submit, this is a wonderful event. If you want to attend virtually, go ahead and sign up. Save September 25th on your calendar because it's going to be a wonderful day of remote learning. It's absolutely free. It costs you nothing to be able to get, and it gives you plenty of knowledge and access to the recordings. Also, if you're in the Jacksonville area, we hope to see you this Saturday for SQL Saturday Jacksonville. And we also hope to see you for our pre-con on Friday. Then coming up, I'm speaking at the user group in Orlando, not this week, but next week on Tuesday. Looking forward to speaking. I'm going to be speaking on Microsoft Fabric, and then we've got a remote presentation to one of the wonderful user groups that we have over in Nigeria as well. That will be actually on Mother's Day at noon. I did not realize it was on Mother's Day when I booked it, and thank you to my wife for being wonderful and forgiving. I will be taking her for manicures and pedicures after we finish that user group presentation. And that was going to be part of the plan anyway, but that also helps make the day go a little bit smoother.
Was that a road trip to Nigeria? On Mother's Day?
No. That is. I am presenting remotely. That was also something my wife asked me over and over again. Are you traveling to? No, this is a remote presentation. So Brad's staying in the office. No more traveling for me after SQL Saturday Jacksonville, at least until we hit the fall of this year, or maybe more towards the winter when Live 360 comes around, because we have submitted. We're waiting to hear back, but Live 360 is again the week before Thanksgiving. And it is the place that you want to be. We do not have the time to be able to hit you, Josh, like we normally do. I've got to head out for a doctor's appointment. But we do want to thank you all so much for joining us on Tales from the Field. For Josh Luedeman, Andreas Padilla, Marco Cardoso, Daniel Taylor, and Neeraj Jhaveri, thank you so much for joining us. Be good to one another and take care out there, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Greatness, do my best, man, I'll take it. Wake up.